You know about the Phoenix Lights. We're going to be talking a little bit about them, the latest theory as we celebrate the anniversary, even though we've seen things that may prove it otherwise than a UFO. Stay with us.
March 13th, 1997. You guys all remember these lights here? It was 14 years ago tonight that phones and newsrooms and 911 call centers were ringing off the hook. The reason? Suspicious lights hovering over the Arizona sky. They came to be known as the Phoenix Lights, and over the years there have been many theories as to what the lights were. But to this day, the identity of the Phoenix Lights remain a mystery. The experience, some say, was just one of many major UFO sightings, and they say we've been visited for centuries. What proof? Well, one local UFO expert says you just have to look at the mountains.
Oh, well, I've been seeing UFOs for about 15, 16 years now.
It's become a lifelong passion for Phoenix resident Jeff Woolwine.
I do a lot of hiking, a lot of research. I've dedicated 5 years of my life into this type of research. We'll be heading right up there. You can see some petroglyphs with some spirals there. And when we get closer, you'll be able to interpretate, the meaning of it.
Woolwine was one of many residents to see the Phoenix Lights 14 years ago. But it didn't stop there. He's documented years of sightings on his website, going beyond just the traditional lights in the sky research.
Doing my investigations, I'm coming to find out that the petroglyphs here in the Valley of the Sun are talking about what we're seeing in the sky today as far as UFOs and strange things in the sky.
Woolwine says he's found it's been happening for centuries.
You see, they didn't have video cameras back then. They had stone boulders to record their sightings on what they saw back in their time.
And the evidence is written all over our Arizona mountains.
Here on what we call A Mountain, we find this petroglyph here. And it seems to represent a family. And they clearly have their hands up in the air as to say they're in the appeasement pose and they're looking up at two orbs in the sky. This mountain is very active for UFO sightings. Most of the time when I come out here, we do see some orbs up in the sky.
Woolwine says the best time to see the orbs is early in the morning or late afternoon.
The more you see it, the more you're intrigued. You want to see more of them. And I really think that it's only a matter of time when everybody will know that, yes, there is something here. Yes, we are being visited. And we just have to ask ourselves, okay, we're not the only advanced civilizations in the universe. What happens next?
Lights in the sky now. I'll show you what. I'll show you what. Lights in the sky. I'll show you elephants from the air. It's been a real rockin' good time now. Well, it's a time to say alright. I'm gonna get there almost tomorrow night. Tomorrow's just another day. We'll make the lights laugh in the sky. We're rocking for our feet straight in the air now. And we'll see it, it's all alright now. Gonna find me, yeah. Gonna find, Well, I'll show you a real good time. I'll show you fine lights in the sky. I'll show you fine, it's a real good time now. I'll show you fine, it's a night in the sky. Yeah. Yes, I'll run, sing it now. It's down, lights in the sky. Lights down the road. Well, it's a glance, just a look at. Seeing now what's all around. A spectrum shining, most of the downtown. Everybody's gonna get down, down. I'll show you lights in the sky now. I'll show you what. I'll show you why. Lights in the sky. I'll show you everything's fine with me. Tomorrow night, tomorrow just another day. We'll make the lights laugh in the sky. We're rocking for our feet, straight in the air now, and we'll see it. It's all alright now. Gonna find me, yeah. Gonna find, yeah, yeah. Well, I'll show you a real good time. I'll show you fine lights in the sky. I'll show you fine, it's a real good time now. I'll show you fine, it's a night in the sky. Tomorrow just another day. We'll make the lights laugh in the sky. We're rocking for our feet, straight in the air now, and we'll see it. It's all alright now. Gonna find me, yeah. Gonna find, yeah, yeah. Well, I'll show you a real good time. I'll show you fine lights in the sky. I'll show you fine, it's a real good time now. I'll show you fine, it's a night in the sky. Yeah, yeah. Yes, I'll run, sing it right now. It's down mountain, lights in the sky. Lights in the sky. We're rocking for our feet, straight in the air now, and we'll see it. It's all alright now. Gonna find me, yeah. Gonna find, yeah, yeah. Well, I'll show you a real good time. I'll show you fine lights in the sky. I'll show you fine, it's a real good time now. I'll show you fine, it's a night in the sky. Yeah, yeah. Yes, I'll run, sing it right now. It's down mountain, lights in the sky. Lights down the Broadway. Lights down the sky.
Answers to the question of humanity. All these ships, cure insanity. Petroglyphs in the sky. Watch the UFOs fly by. We in the southwest Arizona. Sonoran desert, UFOs are among us. Petroglyphs in the sky. Watch them UFOs fly by. We in the southwest Arizona. UFOs are among us.
Hello, welcome back to another Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky UFO show. How's everyone doing tonight? So glad you guys are here. Maybe I should change the title to the Tucson Lights. Man, have you guys been seeing all the crazy light orb activity that's been going on here on the mountains around Tucson, Arizona? Man, I have been following these things for a year now, and we are about this close, about to the 5-minute mark of having these things make a complete circle around Tucson, and we're going to talk about that in this show. And man, I've just been following these things all year, and it's something to see. If you guys are in Tucson and want to see these lights, contact me on Facebook or get a hold of me on my email, and let's go out and see these things. I've had other people come out and join me to see them. These things are real. These things are here. Now is the time to get a good view of these things. So come on out and let's witness these lights together. Boy, I tell you what, we have a wonderful show in store for you tonight. We're going to take you on a little hiking trip behind the Catalina Mountains to take a look at some petroglyphs. Then we're going to talk about how these light orbs, how I've been tracking the light orbs. And then we're going to talk about how the new discovery of what's below the pyramids of Egypt. Isn't that crazy? What is going on there? So we're going to get into that and a possible explanation on what it all means. And so, yeah, let's get started. So much to go over. And let's go. Okay. So, like I said, I've taken people out to go see these lights. And Steve Russo from Tucson says, this guy is legit. What he does. I just witnessed some crazy UAPs in the sky. Jeff, you have me a believer now. I got chills down my spine from the stuff I just witnessed. And thank you, Steve. Man, you're awesome, brother. And, you're welcome to come back anytime that you want to come see these lights again. And he took a picture of me watching the Orbs. And thanks, brother. You're awesome. And here's another one. And Chris Evans, man, this guy, I tell you, he is just an awesome brother. He's just really cool. And Chris Evans says, this guy is legit. I went out with him the other night and observed dozens of Orb UAPs. He knows when and where they're going to show up. Give this a watch. So thank you, Chris. And you know what? Chris is awesome. Let's go ahead and show what my good friend Chris does. Chris Evans, the king of Arizona. And, he's a great guy, great person, and he's an awesome entertainer. And I highly suggest that you go check him out and make sure you follow him on his YouTube channel. And, he has seen some UAPs here in Tucson also, and he's got a great story in store to tell you if you contact him and want to know more about it. Maybe we'll have him, maybe we'll do an interview and have him on the guest as a show, for a show. But yeah, man, this guy is great. Thank you, Chris, for coming out and seeing the lights with me and contacting me. Brother, you're awesome. And so, yeah. So let's get into this right here. So this was sent to me by Steve Wells in Phoenix. Now, this was recorded about a month ago. And it's taken with a cell phone, so we're going to try to zoom in on this. And this is Phoenix. And those of you who have was born in Phoenix or live in Phoenix know about this building here. Let me bring up my antenna or my arrow. There we go. And you know about this building here. This building's been there like forever, and it's always been one of my favorite buildings in Phoenix. But I want you to concentrate out here, these lights here. Look at that. Steve did an awesome job filming these things. Let's get a little bit zoomer angle in this, man. But yeah, so these lights they're not only here in Tucson, but they're going on in Phoenix also. Look at that. Right there they go. Great paying attention, brother, man. You're awesome. You're awesome, Steve. And yeah, just, we need more people like you to be watching the skies out there. And, it's going to be great when you send me some more footage. So keep your eyes in the sky. Good job, brother, and keep it up. And thank you so much for sending this in to us. And man, it's something. There is something going on here, not only here in Arizona, but all over the world. And I really think it's because of everything that's been escalating in the world. And so it's really stirred up. It's really got these things agitated, if you will, or stirred up. But there's so many here, and just so much is going on here. And man, it's just crazy. Okay, so let's take you guys on a hike behind the Catalina Mountains to a place called the Baby Jesus Trail to take a look at some petroglyphs. And my good friend Chris Evans, he took me out there to go hiking. And man, I was thinking it was only like an 8-mile trip up and back, but the news is saying that it's a 10-mile hike. So yeah, we did some hiking out there, and I just want to say thanks to Chris for picking me up and taking me out there and hiking. And so yeah, let's get started on that. This is going to be great.
4 days before Christmas, when carolers sang on the Baby Jesus Trail in the Catalina mountain range. The hike gets its namesake from this rock formation, which looks like a mother cradling her child. A popular trek this time of year, groups like the Dukes Road Runners make the pilgrimage to this rock formation every holiday season. It's about a 5-mile round-trip trek, moderately difficult.
There's Chris, and we had to get a permit from the city of Tucson to walk up on this trail, not only to keep in our car dash, but also to keep on us in case any park ranger stopped us and wanted to see him. And I want to give a great shout out to Chris, and I just want to say thank you so much for taking me up here on this trail. I had a great time and a great hike with you, brother, and thank you so much. And they call it the Baby Jesus Trail because after you're done with this trail, you're going to wish you were a baby Jesus just to fly back to your car. I mean, it was a heck of a hike. Okay. And so we came across this interesting mountain formation here, and it really looked like the Devil's Tower on my favorite movie, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And when you see that movie, think of me because I can relate to that movie quite a lot. And so yeah, we came across this fence here to keep the cows in. And so we had to walk through that, and Chris is heading towards the sign of the trail leading to the Baby Jesus Trail. And it's called the Summerland Trail. And so that was pretty cool. And the first thing that I noticed was these power lines. Now it's interesting too because, this is the reason why these light orbs is hanging around these mountains is because of the fault line, is because of the energy. So it's only natural that we would see power lines leading deep into the mountain there for a bigger, generator or, some type of power plant generator, things to that nature. And you can see evidence here next to the power pole. And that's, the construction workers, maybe there was some kind of power box there at one time. And so, yeah, this mountain is making a lot of energy. And that's the reason why these things are here. So we came across these rock formations and these stacked rocks. And there's a lot of ways to interpret these rock stackings like that. Like, for instance, on South Mountain in Phoenix, I came across a lot of those stacked rocks that was actually oriented towards the morning sunrises of each season. And so that was pretty cool to discover. And then, sometimes there's rock stackings for grave sites, and I found some of those on South Mountain also. But here on the Catalina foothills in Tucson, Arizona, we see these stacked rocks representing the trail markers, telling us that this is the Baby Jesus Trail, and which is going that way. And so the first thing that I kind of noticed about 45 minutes into the hike, this interesting landscape here, and I automatically recognized it for what the Native Americans used it for, and they used it for a type of ball game. And I found the exact same type of landscape on South Mountain. And the city archaeologist of Phoenix was writing about this in his book, and how the Native Americans used to play this type of ball game, much like, you know, some of the Mayans in Mexico would play their ball games there. And so this was like a type of ball court. And we found some bones there, and we were thinking that it was, you know, maybe javelina bones. And I was just hoping that the predator that made these bones wasn't still out there, because I didn't want it to run into any danger. But yeah. And but yeah, you know, the more we looked around, it was clearly you can actually see, you know, use your imagination, and you can see the Native Americans, you know, up there, you know, running around, you know, on this ball court. So I thought that was a pretty cool discovery there. And of course, it was made by water. We can see the weathering there. And but yeah, this is a type of ball court that the Native Americans used over 1,000 years ago. And so there's more stuff that I was kind of checking out. Matter of fact, there's that rock that seems to be split in half, and we're going to show it just briefly here whenever we get to it. But you can really see that on how it was kind of cut in half by maybe like a type of laser, or there it is there, or maybe some kind of ancient technology that we have forgotten about. And but yeah, let's take a look at this when we come up to it. And here is like a type of watering hole there. But this stone here, look at this. See how this was cut? Look how that was cut. I mean, it's just so interesting. Look at that. Look how precisely that was cut. And we find some more bones up there. Some wild creature had a feast up here. And Chris found this interesting boulder here, and it looked like a snake. And it really resembled a snake, as Chris is pointing to it now. And so yeah, it really looked like a snake. And you know, it's very heavy, and that's the reason why it's still sitting there today. And so there's a mine up here, and I'm on top of the mine looking down, and looking over the ball court area there. And there's a lot of mines on South Mountain also in Phoenix. The CCC got about $60,000 worth of gold and silver from South Mountain, from some of the mines out there in Phoenix. But it's undetermined on what this mine was used for here. Maybe the same thing. Maybe the CCC was out here also. I'll have to look into that later. But yeah, this was a cool mine shaft, and there was water at the bottom of this, so we couldn't see how deep it was. But yeah, it was really cool to check out. I was really hoping that the mine would go back into the mountain instead of just a dropping hole. But yeah, this is what I found. It's pretty cool. And then we ran into some cows, and so I had to walk on the other side to kind of try to scare them away from the trail, because they're standing right on the trail. So I kind of walked up on the side of the rock there, and kind of, you know, made them go that way, and which they did. And we noticed that there was a white cow out there, and I thought that was interesting. You don't see too many white cows anymore. But yeah, that was a sight to see. That was pretty cool. And you know, it was a great hike out there. It was very long and very treacherous in some places, but yeah, it was cool. It was a great walk, and it was interesting too, because at the end of this trail we found this like watering trough for, you know, cows and horses, and there was goldfish in it. And right beyond this was the rock formation of the baby Jesus and the petroglyphs. So let's go ahead and examine the petroglyphs, and let's talk about more detail on what they represent. So yeah, let's talk about what's out there, the petroglyphs. So here, this glyph here. So look at this stuff here. Here we have two orbs, and it's like a barbell formation. Look at that, they're connected together. Then we have some more orbs here. Let's go ahead and raise this up. We have some other orbs there, a barbell. Okay, but look at this guy here. Now this is crazy. So look how he's illuminating. Like the artist wants us to know that this guy's head is bright. So what these light orbs are going to do, this is just the beginning. Okay, these things are going to anthropomorph. They're going to change. They're going to shapeshift. But right now, they're just in the orb formation, the orb shape right now. But eventually, these things are going to anthropomorph. Look at that. And they're going to change. Okay? Look at this glyph over here. Here we go. Look at this here. You see that? It's like a tic-tac. And look, he's anthropomorphing. He's growing a body there and some arms. Look at that. Okay? There's another tic-tac right there. Then we have the orb with the dot in the middle. Those of you who have been following me and seeing my other past shows know what that dot in the middle is all about. But yeah, look at that. Like a barbell formation there. And yeah, it's crazy. That's what's been going on here over here in Tucson. So these things, this is just the beginning. There is more stuff that is probably already here. They're just hiding, or they're going into a place away from people right now. And you know, like right now, there's when the lights are like over the Recon or the Tucson mountains, because they start like around 8 o'clock, all right, just after sunset, like around 8 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and you can only see them through the night vision camera. You can only see them through the night vision. They're just little pinpricks, okay. But then, as time progresses, as the night ventures on, they get more solid and become more brighter. And we're going to talk about that later on in the show. But yeah, you know, these things are just a little pinprick, and but over time, they're really bright, and that's when people can see them with their naked eye. Look at this here. Here we have, again, it looks like a Tic Tac UFO, and he's anthropomorphing, changing shape. Okay, look, and see the dog. So that's telling me that this UAP, this anthropomorph, all right, this entity, creature, right, is on the ground. Because look, the coyote is sniffing them, right? That's what dogs do, right? They're checking them out. They're checking this thing out. So that's telling me that this creature, this entity, is on the ground. And look, he's anthropomorphing into another one. You see that? And the coyote is checking him out. See that? Let's look at this one. Okay, so spirals. Spirals are symbols on where to find these locations at, on where these things are coming and going from. So when a spiral is going clockwise, it's a doorway in. When a spiral is going counterclockwise, it's a doorway out. When a spiral ends down on the ground, that means that crack or the ground is the emergence point. And then when the spiral is ending up, there's a doorway in the sky. There's a vortex in the sky. And that's what the spirals are kind of representing is tunnels, looking down into a tunnel. That's when these things just magically appear in the sky. And so this one is going counterclockwise, right? and it's ending up. So that's telling us, and it's carved in the place on where the location is, where the doorways are. So this is the doorway. The Native Americans has already documented this for us. We just need to understand what they're talking about and have an open mind, all right? And so they're carving these events at the locations where the event took place at. All right? This just isn't some random drawing in some random place, okay? The petroglyphs are there for a reason. They're telling a story. They're prehistoric photographs of UFO sightings and where to find them. Like I've always been saying for 25 years now, okay? Mountains, fault lines, right? Then we're going to talk about the sun's energy. We'll get into that later on in the show. But the spirals, look at that. It's ending up. So there's a doorway in the sky. That's when these things are magically coming into the sky. Look at this. We got more barbells there. See that? And look, it may look like a squiggly line, but that's really a creature. It's really a UFO. It's a UAP. It's an anthropomorph. It's a living creature. I've been saying this all along. When I first discovered these UAPs, these jellyfish, they're called now, in 2005, while investigating the Phoenix Lights. These things have been here for a while. And it took over 20 years for the public to just now start to see them. And I discovered these things years ago. Let's take a look at this glyph. Now, here's another one. See how the deer is kind of checking out this UAP? And, you know, now they call them jellyfish, but back then, we called them tadpoles. When I was doing the pilot for the Ancient Aliens and UFO Hunter show, Pat Uskert, we were calling these things tadpoles. And, you know, now over 20 years later, we're calling them jellyfish. But yeah, these things are like carved here, and it's like another orb. So it's like a barbell. He's morphing. He's anthropomorphing into another shape. So first he's this orb, now he's changing into another orb. And the deer is checking him out. So that's telling me this thing is on the ground where the deer can reach him. This is cool too. Look at this. So and look, so so when you look at the rock art, you have to look at the whole landscape, because the artist is putting the rock art in with the landscape. So he's telling us that he saw these UFOs right here. And look at the sky, see? Right up here in the sky. So that's where this Native American saw these lights at, these UFOs. Look, there's an orb there. Let's go ahead and blow this up more. See that? There's an orb. And there's another orb there. And it's facing, it's up towards the sky. So he wants us, he's telling us that he saw these things in the sky. And this is the reason why he carved it there, looking in this direction. We got one more to show you. Here we go, a spiral again. These are all out here on the Catalina Mountains, right? This is right here in Tucson. And look, again, there's a spiral, and look, it's going down counterclockwise, right? So it's a doorway out, and it's pointing down to this crack here. Isn't that amazing? You see, the Native Americans, they've already documented this first. I mean, why not? Because they were the first ones here. They were the first ones to interact with these beings. So I think we really need to take a second look on these petroglyphs and understand what they're talking about, because they're talking about what we're seeing in the skies today. All right? Without a shadow of a doubt. There's no question, no ifs, ands, or buts. This is it. This is where the credibility lies at, right here. And are they depicting spaceships or crafts? No, they're talking about something different. I've always been saying this when I first discovered this in 2005. They're talking about a living creature. They're talking about what we now call jellyfish. Living entities, living creatures. Those of you who have been following me for the past year know that I've been filming these lights ever since May of 2024. And I started in May, and I tracked them all the way until October. But they kept going. They kept going until the winter solstice in December. And it was cool because they were changing locations and changing times. So in May, they were coming in at 12. And then June 1, and then 2, 3, and then by the time they got way out there, they were coming in at 4 o'clock in the morning. Okay? Now, this is interesting, too, because now we're seeing the lights out here again. And like I said, we're about 5 minutes away from them making a complete circle around Tucson, back where they started in May. And when's the best time to see them? In April out here? At 10 o'clock. That's the best time to see them. With your naked eye, you can see them like at 10 o'clock until 11, right? And then May, next month, they should start showing up around midnight. So we're going to talk about that probably in our next show. And let's go ahead and watch on how I was able to track these things this whole year. Here is how I was able to track these light orbs as they circled Tucson within a year time period between the equinox and the solstice, as the sun would travel over these mountain energy fault lines. Here I've marked energy 1, energy 2, energy 3, energy 4, and energy 5. Now, I started watching these light orbs in 2024 over here at Mount Lemmon. And I noticed as the sun was changing positions, these things were changing positions, migrating east, changing positions and changing times, all the way up until December of the winter solstice. And then they were gone. Then in 2025, they were back, but this time they were at the Recon Mountains. And now they were migrating west. And so by March, they were over here at the Tucson Mountains for the spring equinox. They now continued their journey north, and we find them here in April. Also, at this energy source of the power plant that's bored down into the fault line. So by May, they will continue to move eastward as they travel towards Mount Lemmon, and they will have successfully made a complete circle around Tucson between the equinox and the solstice as the sun travels around these fault lines. Ions and electrons is a type of energy particle that the sun is always putting here on the Earth. And in combination with the fault lines and the ions and electrons over these certain areas, such as these mountains with fault lines, I believe that these orbs are coming in, and when they get right over these fault lines, they're gobbling up these ions and electrons, and they get real bright. And then when their energy is full, when they have a full tummy of energy, that's when they move on. And then the next set comes in, and they're going over those fault lines with the ions and electrons, and they're gobbling up this energy, just like Pac-Man that we see gobbling the power pellets. Yeah, so we are this close. We're at the end of April, and we're getting ready to enter May here pretty soon. And so by May, if my calculations are correct, they should be back over there in the same spot, probably again at 12 midnight. Because now, in order to see them over there at the Catalina Mountains, on the west side, on the west end, we can see them between 10 and 11. All right. But they are out there before then. Okay. Every once in a while, we'll see a flash of light, coming in over there by the Tucson Mountains, around in that area, or around on the, I call it now, the April side, over there by that power plant. So you can see them coming in over there. And there's a mountain far back over there that they're coming and going from. Right behind, there's like a mine out there, and there's a mountain behind that mine, and it's got this little this mountain has this little hump coming out of it, and they're coming and going from that mountain also. And and you can start seeing them sometimes when they flash, around 9:30. But the best way to see them is with the night vision camera. So around 9:30, and then around 10. Holy cow, they're coming in, man. They're sucking up those ions and electrons, and they're using that fault line energy, and they're just getting bright, and they're heading towards May. They're heading towards the May side, over Mount Lemmon. And so, yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're 5 minutes away. We're only about a week or two away from May. And so by then, midnight, that's going to be fascinating. That is just going to just blow me away, because then we have completely followed these things in a circle, okay, around Tucson, all right, starting where I started, before. And we're only about, we're weeks away. We're 5 minutes away from this major discovery, okay, of these things circling Tucson, following the equinox, following the solstice. And this is just major. This has never been documented before since the Hohokam Indians, over 1,000 years ago, right? This never been done since the Hohokams. So this is going to be great. I'm excited to see if they're going to show back up there at May. And the way they're going, I think so. I think they're going to continue, and they're going to follow that pattern. And I think next year I'm going to try to follow them again and see if they'll make another round of this is repeating itself. So yeah, it's going to be exciting, And stay tuned for that. I'm sure I'm going to talk about that in my next show. Isn't it amazing on how they found structures under the pyramids? Now, I kind of figured that, the pyramids was a type of energy conductor, a type of power plant, and, it was sitting over some fault lines. But we really, the information really wasn't there to connect the dots, to put two and two together, to actually figure out how they were able to make this energy. So obviously, these things taught man how to make special machines, okay, to construct, the way to cut stones or to melt stones, to make these pyramids. And, I really think that, the giants had something to do with those pyramids. But there's so much evidence out there that there was some type of lost machinery that was given to the people at that time from these beings, or these beings taught these people how to make this type of machinery to cut stones in half, to place these stones in certain ways that you can't even put a paper through. Okay, so I really believe that these entities, these beings, these jellyfish, these orbs, UFOs, Phoenix lights, Tucson lights, taught these people how to survive and taught them how to make special machines so they could cut through stone, so they could make these structures, so they could build these huge pyramids and actually, make them a type of a conductor, a type of power plant, if you will. And I really believe that's what's going on here, to attract these things to this area. But I just find it fascinating that some of these depictions of some of their deity gods, they have orbs above their heads, the exact same stuff that we're seeing in the skies today. Okay, and so the archaeologists want to say that's sun god Ra. What if it's the light orbs that we're seeing in the skies today? And what if the Egyptians was able to make a power plant, okay, to attract these things to these pyramids, these man-made mountains, all right, over these fault lines for energy? Let's go ahead and take a look at this. So when we look at what the scanners had picked up, we can see that there were structures under the pyramid here, these long tubular shaft looking things. And I just find it interesting. Now I kind of had an idea that these were, power plants and to generate energy. But the information to coincide with this theory, to back up this theory, just hasn't been available yet until now. Until now, they was able to look under this pyramid here and see all these structures that was underneath. And so when I started seeing what they were uncovering, the pieces were kind of like falling into place. And they were deep. Here's another diagram that we're all familiar with now, and with these tubes. And they found more structures inside the pyramid here, along with the tubes that go down, way down underground. And when we look at it on how deep they are, it's as tall as a building. I mean, it's huge. It goes way down deep. And, my take on it is it's going down into the fault line. They're going out into the fault lines. And here we have those poles there. And with some type of, wire or something, tubes going around it. Here's a better look at what the scanners had picked up on these poles with these types of tubes going around this pole here. Now, when I saw those poles, it immediately rang a bell, and I was thinking, you know what? Those look exactly like the type of poles or structures that we find at the Hoover Dam. And what does the Hoover Dam do? The Hoover Dam uses water to make electricity. Here's another view of what I believe those poles underneath the pyramids could possibly be. This is on the Hoover Dam. And it looks exactly like what we see under the pyramids. The structures here under the pyramid. So where does the water come from? Let's go ahead and take a look at the Egypt landscape here. Let's go ahead and look at this diagram real quick. Let me just get out of the way here so I can show you a little bit more. So we have the Nile there with all this water, okay? And then now look at this. You see all these little chambers leading to each pyramid? So they have found structures or tunnels, if you will, coming from the River Nile all the way to these pyramids. And this is where the water is coming from the pyramids. They're coming from the Nile, and it's reaching all the way to the pyramid. And I believe that this is how they were able to generate this energy, much like the Hoover Dam. They used water. And then all the structures under the pyramid would be a type of conductor to make this energy. So obviously there was some type of technology that created the pyramids. And then obviously there was technology to build something beneath the pyramids, all the way down into that fault line. And so I believe that this technology, this secret technology, ancient technology, was lost, probably taken away from mankind years ago. And if you probably ask some of the Native Americans, they will tell you that the holy people took this information away from these people because they didn't want to misuse the powers. And so, but when we look at the water here, and when we look at the Hoover Dam, and we look at what's going on here, I believe it has everything to do with the energy and the fault lines. So let's take a look at a detailed map on where the fault lines are. So this is a fault line here, okay? And all these little triangles here, these are stations that monitor the fault lines. That's what all these little triangles are here for. It's monitoring the fault lines. And here's the Luxor. So this is where the pyramids are, right here. Here's the water there. And there's the Luxor. Okay, and they have a power station there, a seismic station, monitoring the energy, monitoring the fault line. Here's a better look at it. So we have the Red Sea with the water. And then we have this major fault line here. Okay, so the pyramids are here, right? But look, this fault line is here, cutting all the way across here. All right, and then they have all those little stations there monitoring the energy, monitoring the fault lines. Isn't that crazy? And yes, I really believe that these pyramids were built to harness and produce energy for these beings, for these light orbs. And isn't it interesting on how we have this depiction of a light orb above this type of energy symbol here. And it just so happens to be the exact same type of energy symbols or energy stuff that we see on power lines, on our power lines today. Isn't that interesting? The exact same stuff that we are using today, the Egyptians already had that mastered. Is that remarkable or what? That's just insane. Pretty cool stuff.
Watch some UFOs fly by. We in the South.
That'll do it for our show. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We will see you next time on the Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky UFO show. Thank you again.
Arizona, UFOs are among these UFOs. Gotta say something about the petroglyphs being all the truth, all the ancient myths of spirits in the sky. Maybe these were starships. Indians wonder why. In the future, when times get rough, we'll all return to the mountain to get the answers to the question of humanity. All these ships, cure insanity. Petroglyphs in the sky. Watch the UFOs fly by. We in the Southwest Arizona. Sonoran desert, UFOs are among us. Petroglyphs in the sky. Watch them UFOs fly by. We in the Southwest Arizona. UFOs are among us.